Hello, everybody. This is Tajikbay, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, May 3rd, and I'm recording this podcast, which is dedicated to the UFC event that takes place this Saturday, UFC Vegas, UFC 288, where Aljamain Sterling meets Henry Cejudo in the main event. I'm going to break down the entire card, and I'll try to make it within a good 10-15 minutes. We have lots of fights, so hopefully this is going to be an easy watch for you guys. If you have any questions, just put them in the comment section and or DM me on Twitter, whichever way is easier. Daniel Santos versus Johnny Munoz. I think the key to the victory for Daniel here is to press, and the best game plan to go against Johnny Munoz is just push the pace and make him uncomfortable, because otherwise Johnny can pick you apart, maybe get a takedown or two, and kind of cruise towards the decision. And the goal for Daniel would have to be to make him uncomfortable, and I think if he doesn't, then Johnny should take over. But I do like Daniel because that's exactly what he does in every fight. He goes for unorthodox techniques. He puts the pressure. He doesn't afraid to get hit, to take a punch, to give a punch, and so I think he should win this fight. Joseph Holmes versus Claudio Ribeiro. I'm not much of a Joseph Holmes backer. It's very hard. I think maybe he was pushed into UFC a little bit early. Maybe a couple of more tune-up fights would have been well, but it is what it is. That loss to Jamie Pickett didn't age well. Everybody's talking about it, of course. And for Claudio, he didn't do well himself, in his debut. But he showed that he can move around, and kind of pick his shots from very unorthodox angles and stuff like that. And tough to judge, but I think Claudio should get it. It's just that I think he would have to press early. I think he will. But with Joseph Holmes, it's just the problem is that we know the thing is this: we know with the Claudio what the winning looks like, right? Like he's gonna go out there try to knock you out. We don't know what the winning looks like for Joseph Holmes, right? And I think that's the issue here. And but if he survives the first round, maybe then we have a competitive fight. We just have to wait and see how how Claudio looks. But I do have Claudio winning this fight. Zhalgas Zhumagulov versus Rafael Estevam. I think it's the same thing, right? Zhalgas has literally one win in the UFC, and he could have had maybe 3 or 4, but they ended up split decision against him. And I think the problem is the same that was Joseph, but Zhalgas doesn't have much striking output, and then in terms of the wrestling, it's not really that effective because he doesn't get the control of it. And that's the problem against Rafael, because Rafael wants to take you down and he wants to ground and pound you. Younger guy, hungrier guy, stepping out there against a guy who struggles. I think the biggest struggle for Zhalgas is going to be a weight cut, and I don't even know if he makes it, but if he does, then I think in the later rounds Rafael should put a little bit more pressure on Zhalgas and win this fight. Hoz versus Ikram Alevskerov, Phil Hoz. A tough fight for Phil, but I think it's also a tough fight for Ikram, because to take down Phil, it's going to take a little bit effort. It's actually going to take a lot of effort. I have Ikram, however, winning this fight. I think his stand-up is pretty decent. He's a little bit plotty. Maybe it's going to be tough, and because Phil can strike, he can. But let's see if after the pressure from Ikram, if Phil's cardio holds. Maybe it will, maybe it will not, but I actually like Ikram to win this fight. I don't know if he finishes, however. Braxton Smith versus Parker Porter. The thing is about Braxton is that he fought 10 years ago and then came back, and so, but and recently racked up a very good, decent regional KO wins. When he touches his opponents, they go out. He takes Parker Porter, I think, at a good time, because Braxton started he's a full-time fighter now. He trains full-time, and I think that's good. And Parker's just coming off of the KO loss and then the submission loss prior to that. And it's just where is Parker's motivation now? 38 years of age. This could be his last fight in the UFC, but for Braxton, I think it would have to go for a finish early. If not, then Parker will take over, and that's, I think, is the problem for Braxton. But yeah, he has to go out there and take out Parker Porter, because otherwise, Parker is a seasoned vet and he has a good experience. So he has some half decent wins, in the UFC. So we'll see how it goes. But I think Braxton will KO Parker Porter. Virna versus Marina. I think it's a close fight, but the problem for Virna, I think, is that Marina stays on the outside, and I think in terms of the technical strike, she's really good, and she has a great volume, right? And so for Virna, it would have to be, getting the takedowns, and I think if she gets it, she can get some control time. I don't know if she can submit Marina, but I think overall, when they're in the stand-up, Marina should have the edge. It's going to be close. It's going to play out close, but I think Marina is going to win this fight. Chaos versus Bedoya. Chaos Williams versus Rolando Bedoya. We all know how Chaos fights. I like that he's measured, tactical, and he hits hard, and he knows what he needs to do. So we don't know much about Rolando, but I think Chaos wins, and maybe he finishes late. And if not, I think in all likelihood it's going to be by decision. But Chaos hits too hard. You just don't know when he finishes the fight and when he doesn't. So, but I think it's Chaos all the way. Kennedy Nchukwu versus Devin Clark. I like Kennedy here. Obviously, decent size difference, but I think for Kennedy, I would actually try to go for submission, because Devin leaves his neck open, and Kennedy has a lot of strength, and if he can get a good grip, he can gilly, Devin is never Kennedy. I don't think he has a submission win in the past, but it's like plus 1,000 Kennedy by submission, which I think is interesting. But other than that, I think Devin is uncomfortable. Like, it's hard to fight Devin, because you always try to push you against the cage, try to take you down. But I think that the size difference and strength difference, and Kennedy, I think maybe 2-3 fights ago, if they fought, I would have thought that it would be a closer fight. But I think Kennedy is getting the experience, getting the training, and getting, I think he's motivated, and I think big things are coming for him. I think he's going to win this fight, and I think he will probably stop Devin Clark. Drew Dober versus Matt Frivola. I like Matt in this fight. He's a decent size underdog, but I think if he mixes his game up, and goes for takedowns, try to get some control time over Drew, I think he's gonna be. He can play out close, and he can eventually win this fight. Drew obviously hits hard. It's hard to pin him down on the ground. He's pretty strong. So it's a good competition for Matt, but I think Matt, as an underdog, I actually like him as an underdog, because he can strike. We saw it. Can he get knocked out? Drew hits hard. Yeah, of course he can knock him out, but for the most part, I think Matt's chin is reliable, and if he mixes up with wrestling, it can play out close, and I think Matt can cover his line, and I pick him to win this fight. Kron Gracie versus Charles Jourdain. Jourdain is not reliable. Kron Gracie is probably doesn't consider himself a UFC fighter at this point. I don't know why this fight is taking place, but I'm going to pick Charles Jourdain to win this fight. Movsar Yevloev versus Diego Lopez. I'm going to skip this one because I don't have much data on Diego Lopez, and this fight has been announced just recently. So yeah, everybody is on Yevloev, obviously. But yeah, he should probably win, but I'm gonna reserve my judgment for now. And, yeah, I mean it's tough, because you're making your debut on a 2-day notice, so it's just, let me by default just pick Movsar. Yes, until further notice, Movsar will win, and that would be my prediction. Let me do it that way, and if it changes, I'll let you know. But I think I'm just gonna stick with Movsar. I think I remember Diego. This is the guy who fought Brito in the past, Joe Anderson Brito. I'll double check that, but yeah, I mean he has nothing to lose, so he's just gonna go. But it's tough to get a guy who was on the full camp. Movsar on the full camp, I think, is a beast. So I think he should win this fight. And the memory of Diego, I think, losing to Brito, it's pretty vivid. Double check that. Yeah, that's the Diego. I know. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough fight for him. Let's go with Movsar and keep on going. Jessica Andrade versus Yan Xiaonan. Yan is picking up her defensive wrestling, offensive grappling, wrestling. Her game is pretty solid. And standing wise, I think this matchup, I think, is fitting her counter-attacking style. I think this is good because if Jessica goes, I think on the counters, Yan is going to be more effective. And I pick Yan Xiaonan to win. Yeah. Okay, Jessica hits hard. Yeah, good subs. Can she go for a takedown? I don't know. It's just like, I get that fight with Blanchfield, it just wasn't like a good look, to be honest. And if Blanchfield could strike with Jessica, I think Xiaonan can too. And I think I think Yan Xiaonan is a better striker than Erin Blanchfield. Bilal versus Gilbert Burns. I'm gonna go with Bilal. I think either side is okay, but the plus money I think is good. If you can get or got the plus money on Bilal, congratulations. I think at this point he knows what he needs to do. Bilal finally understand what's the winning look like, and I think to have an option whether you strike or go for takedowns, I think is a good thing, where you have the tools in your arsenal and you use it to your best advantage. And I think that's the strength of Bilal, is just having this tools in place and having a great fight IQ to choose the path of least resistance. And I'm sure he's going to have a good plan for Gilbert. Not impressed with Gilbert win over Masvidal Chimaev. I think this fight is a little bit of a distraction, but I'm going to go with Bilal here. Aljo versus Henry. This is a tough fight. Again, I think it's a 50-50 fight. Plus money on either side is good. But I'm going to back Henry because I think Henry's wrestling is definitely can cause some trouble for Aljo. But tail of the tape wise, everything just screams Sterling. Age, anthropometrics, reach size, just everything. And I think actually the good quality of a wins. It's just the problem is that we haven't seen Aljo was fighting like this really credentialed level of wrestler, and most recent wins obviously being against strikers, so a little bit tough. But Aljo is in a good health, and Henry is coming back after a long layoff. I think both sides are gonna come in the best shape for this fight. They're gonna be well prepared, and just gonna get Henry on the premise that he's gonna cause Aljo's troubles striking, but he would have to close the distance, and that's a little bit concerning when it comes to Aljo, because even if Henry takes Aljo down, now that I think about it, I think in terms of the submissions, like in grappling, I think Aljo is a good grappler actually. Well, it's hard to doubt that. I mean, look at how he submitted Sandhagen. But again, I'm gonna go with Henry Cejudo, and I think he wins. I'm gonna pick him to win this fight. That's all I have to say. If you guys have any questions, just drop them in the comment section. Happy to answer, or just DM me on Twitter. And good luck this week. Take care. Bye.